You did not land on these words by accident. Stop for a second and feel that. Out of everything you could be doing, you are here, reading this now, and some part of you already knows why. Something changed, not in a small way, not in a passing way. Yesterday carried a strange weight, and you felt it before your mind could explain it. Maybe it came as pressure in your chest, maybe as sudden sadness, maybe as a restless feeling that made no sense at all. You tried to shake it off. You told yourself it was stress, tiredness, maybe just one of those moods that comes and goes, but deep down, that did not feel true. And that is because it was not only your feeling. Someone connected to you hit an emotional wall, and when that inner collapse happened, the shock moved outward. It reached you. That is why this feels so personal. That is why it feels almost too accurate. Stay with me, because what comes next matters. There is a reason your body reacted before your thoughts did. There is a reason yesterday felt heavier than usual, and there is a reason you keep coming back to this feeling instead of letting it go. The connection was never fully gone. It was only strained, buried, pushed down, covered with silence. But yesterday, something in them broke open, and the signal became too strong to ignore. You felt it because, on some level, you are still tied to them, and whether they admit it or not, they felt you more strongly yesterday than they have in a very long time. Maybe you were doing something normal when it happened. Maybe you were smiling, talking, working, scrolling through your phone, or trying to rest. Then out of nowhere, that strange hollow feeling appeared. A pause, a pull, a heaviness you could not explain. It did not match the moment you were in. That is the part that matters. It came from nowhere because it was not born from your own situation. It was an emotional wave arriving from somewhere else. This person is not in a good state because of you, and I do not mean they are simply missing you a little. I mean something much deeper has been shaken inside them. Their balance is off. Their emotional center is disturbed. Yesterday they felt your presence with unusual force, stronger than they have since the distance began, since the silence started, since the bond was pushed into the background. Listen closely. Real connection does not disappear just because people stop talking. Physical distance does not end what was once real. Silence does not cancel what was deeply felt. Some bonds move under the surface, quiet but active, and when one side becomes overwhelmed, the other side often feels it before any words are spoken. That uneasy restlessness you felt, the urge to check your phone, the thought of their name showing up for no clear reason, the strange tension in your body, none of that was random. Their inner defenses weakened. The walls they built to keep everything controlled began to crack, and when those walls gave way, what spilled out was strong enough for you to feel from where you are. For a long time, this person tried to hold themselves together by staying distant. They told themselves they could move on. They acted like cutting emotional ties was possible. They repeated the idea that forgetting you was the smart thing, the necessary thing, maybe even the only thing. But holding that story in place takes energy, and more than that, it takes denial. Yesterday, the pressure became too much. Every thought they avoided, every message they wanted to send but did not, every memory they tried to lock away, every feeling they buried just to seem strong, all of it rose at once. It was not neat, it was not calm, it hit them hard. And because the feeling was real, and because it had been trapped for so long, the release was powerful. Your mind may want to explain what you felt in simple ways. Stress, overthinking, old memories, a random emotional dip. But your deeper self knows the difference between a thought you create and a feeling that lands on you from outside. That is why it stayed with you. That is why it felt different. What reached you was not simple discomfort. It was like a quiet cry moving through distance. In their loneliness, this person had to face something they have been avoiding for too long. Life without you does not feel the way they hoped it would. Distractions are failing. Noise is failing. Busy days are failing. Nothing fully covers the place you once held, and now they are moving through a dark inner stretch where everything feels heavy, blurred, and emotionally loud. In that dark space, the only light they can clearly remember is what you once brought into their life. Even if pride keeps them silent, even if fear keeps their hands still, even if their mouth never says your name out loud, their inner world has already been reaching for you. That is why you may have felt watched, called, or strangely connected, as if someone was speaking in an empty room and somehow you were the only one who could hear it. Do not skip this part. The timing matters. Why yesterday? Why not earlier? Because something underneath the surface reached its limit. Think of it like this. They have been filling an invisible container with everything tied to you. Every memory they tried to ignore, every urge to call that they swallowed, every comparison they made in private, every moment they almost gave in but pulled back. That container kept filling in silence. Yesterday it overflowed. Resistance collapsed from exhaustion. Pretending someone important means nothing is draining. Acting unaffected when your soul knows better costs more than most people realize. And there may be another reason this hit so hard. Something may have shifted in you too. Maybe you loosened your grip. Maybe, even for a short time, you focused on yourself more. Maybe you stopped waiting. Maybe you stopped sending anxious energy in their direction. When you stop clinging, space opens. And when that space opens, the other person feels the true size of your absence. As long as they felt you still emotionally available, they stayed guarded and comfortable. But when that unseen support pulled back, even slightly, fear rushed in. That fear did not arrive as a clear thought. It came as a body feeling, tightness, pressure, an odd drop in the stomach, a sense that something was wrong even if nothing obvious was happening around them. They could have been out with people. They could have been trying to laugh, trying to move forward, maybe even trying to connect with someone else. But suddenly, none of it felt right. Conversation sounded empty. Noise felt irritating. Smiles looked forced. Their mind kept betraying them with the same comparison. No one feels like you. No one sees them the way you did. No one reaches the same place in them. Yesterday, those thoughts got louder. This kind of emotional surge often shows up like anxiety without a visible cause. On the outside, life may look fine. Work may be normal. Health may seem okay. Their routine may still be moving. But inside, something feels deeply off. They feel time slipping. They feel regret growing teeth. They feel pride costing them more than they expected. There is a strong chance they stared at their phone more than once, typed things, erased them, opened your profile, looked for signs. Not out of simple curiosity, but out of need. Yesterday, they felt you more strongly than ever because the barriers were down. When the part of a person that resists gets tired, the deeper truth steps forward. And the truth is this: some part of them still sees you as emotional home. That realization brings confusion. It brings guilt. It brings regret. They question the choices they made. They wonder why they pulled away, why they stayed quiet, why they let distance grow when the bond itself never truly died. That conflict is crushing because both sides are alive inside them at once. They want to reach out, but fear stops them. They miss you, but doubt tells them they may not be welcomed. They want to speak, but the thought of rejection freezes their next move. This inner fight creates a strong pull in your direction. You became the receiver of their emotional storm. That is why yesterday felt so unsettling for you. You were picking up the impact of their breakdown. They may have tried to distract themselves, sleep it off, bury it in work, hide it in social noise, but emotion is like water. It finds a path. Yesterday, That path opened wide, and once it did, they could no longer deny that you left a mark on them, that life has not erased. That truth is frightening to someone who avoids deep feelings. It forces them to face the possibility that they made a mistake and now do not know how to repair it. And this is not staying only in their thoughts. Their body is reacting too. Missing someone deeply is never just mental. It becomes physical. Yesterday, that physical reaction likely became stronger than usual. Their chest may have tightened. Their breathing may have felt shallow for a moment. Their sleep may have become light and broken. Their body is responding to something their mind keeps trying to control. If you could see them in private, really see them when no one is around, you would notice that your absence is not abstract to them. It is living inside their nervous system. It is affecting the way they move through the day. And the more they try to act normal on the surface, the more obvious the inner strain becomes underneath it. One of the clearest signs of what they are feeling now is pressure in the center of their chest. Not sharp pain, not something easy to explain, just a heavy inward squeeze, as if the air around them changed even though nothing around them did. This is what it feels like when too many unsaid words stay trapped too long. Yesterday, that pressure likely rose suddenly. Maybe they paused in the middle of the day and took a deep breath without thinking. Maybe they placed a hand over their chest as if trying to calm something down. Maybe they felt emotional weight without knowing how to name it. Along with that comes disturbed sleep, restless sleep, light sleep, the kind where the body is tired but never truly lets go. There is a good chance they woke in the early morning hours, somewhere in the still, dark silence, and felt you there in thought without meaning to. They turned over, tried to settle, tried to return to sleep. But once the mind grows quiet, the buried feeling gets louder. They do not choose that moment. It happens to them. And when it happens, your presence in their inner world becomes impossible to ignore. Their bed feels crowded with memory. Their mind fills with scenes, with questions, with words never spoken. On top of that, there is a dull exhaustion that rest does not fix. This is not ordinary tiredness. It is the fatigue of inner conflict. The mind says one thing, the heart says another. And living inside that split drains a person. Even simple tasks begin to feel heavier. Even small conversations take effort. People around them may sense something is different, even if they cannot explain it. The brightness in their eyes fades. Their usual spark looks dimmer. The life force that once grew stronger around you now feels far away from them. Even their appetite may be shifting. Emotional stress has a way of moving through the stomach first. They may feel a knot that makes food unappealing, or they may eat quickly without enjoyment, trying to fill an emptiness that food cannot reach. Yesterday, even familiar pleasures may have felt flat. Meals, music, company, all of it slightly empty. That happens when joy and emotional comfort are tied to a person the heart still longs for, and the mind begins playing tricks in that state. They may think they saw you in a crowd, think they heard your voice somewhere impossible, turn their head too quickly because for 1 second they were sure you were near. A familiar smell, a certain place, a passing song, a face from a distance. Suddenly everything starts pointing back to you. The brain searches for signs because absence has become too difficult to carry cleanly. It projects, it reaches, it looks for proof. And every false alarm, every moment when they think it might be you and realize it is not, makes the emptiness sharper. This is not fantasy in the childish sense. It is what happens when a person is emotionally affected beyond what they can manage. Their whole system starts searching for what it has lost. When you understand that, something changes inside you too. Doubt begins to loosen. You stop feeling crazy for noticing the shift. You stop blaming yourself for sensing something strange in the air. You realize your intuition caught a real movement. You felt them because they were deeply stirred. You knew something happened because something did. And even without messages, even without contact, even without proof that can be shown on a screen, the connection showed itself in the way it always does. Through feeling first, explanation later. At a deeper level, people are not as separate as they pretend to be. On the surface, yes, there are bodies, distances, different rooms, different cities, silence, blocked lines, unanswered messages, all the visible signs of separation. But under the surface, human feeling travels in ways that are harder to measure and much harder to stop. Think of two trees standing far apart. Above ground they look unrelated, each in its own place, each with its own shape and direction. But beneath the soil, roots spread, touch, and sometimes intertwine. Signals move there, stress moves there, change moves there. When one side is shaken, the other side can react before there is any visible reason. That is why meaningful connections often refuse to fade in the neat way logic demands. That is why distance does not always weaken what was real. Sometimes it sharpens it. Sometimes silence makes it louder, and sometimes life itself begins arranging moments that mirror what is happening inside two people at the same time. You feel uneasy for no reason while they are thinking of you. They hear a song tied to you at the exact moment they try hardest not to remember. You suddenly pause, and at that same hour they are sitting with a wave of regret. These moments feel too exact to dismiss, too personal to forget. When inner movement and outer moments begin reflecting each other, it becomes clear that the story is still active, not finished, not settled, not emotionally closed. That is why yesterday carried so much force. Something in the space between you came alive again, and once it did, their inner world could not keep pretending everything was under control. Thoughts and emotions are not weak things. They move, they travel, they leave effects. When someone feels you with real depth, that feeling does not just vanish because they decide it should. And when you shift your own energy, whether by letting go, becoming calmer, focusing on your own peace, or simply stopping the chase, that shift can hit the other side harder than any message ever could. Yesterday, something activated. Maybe it was their buried longing rising at once. Maybe it was your quiet withdrawal being felt more clearly than before. Maybe it was both. Whatever the cause, the result was the same. They received an emotional surge they could not fully block. And what they are going through now is not pointless pain. It is a forced moment of honesty. Deep connections act like mirrors. They show people what they avoid. They reveal fear, pride, insecurity, softness, longing, and the parts of the heart a person tries hardest to hide. By stepping away from you, they may have thought they were escaping pain. In truth, they were trying to escape what your presence awakened in them. But what is denied does not disappear. It gathers force. It waits. It returns stronger. Yesterday, denial stopped working. What had been pushed down rose up and demanded to be felt. Memories came back sharper. Regret got louder. Longing became physical. The emotional structure they built to stay detached began cracking from the inside. And whether you meant to or not, your energy touched that weak place. Not with effort, not with drama. Sometimes the strongest impact comes in silence, when you are no longer chasing, no longer explaining, no longer proving, just existing in your own truth, while the other person finally feels what your absence really means. And that is why this is not about villains or victims. It is not about punishment. It is not about revenge. It is about awakening. Their discomfort, their emotional collapse, their strange restlessness, their regret, all of it is part of a moment where the truth is getting harder for them to avoid. The more they try to erase you on the surface, the more their deeper self pulls your image back in. If they avoid you in daylight, they may dream of you at night. If they force themselves not to check on you, their thoughts circle back anyway. If they speak coldly outside, their inner world may be anything but cold. That is why you do not need a message to know something shifted, and this part is important, so hear it clearly. You do not have to rush toward this energy. You do not have to break your peace to prove the connection is real. You do not have to chase what is already moving. Let the truth do its work. Let their feelings reveal themselves in their own time. Protect your center. Protect your calm. Because when someone reaches a breaking point over your absence, the last thing you want to do is lose yourself in their confusion. Stay grounded. Stay steady. Let them face what they feel without you carrying it for them. You can understand the bond without surrendering your balance. You can sense them without being consumed by them. And if yesterday felt like a wave hit you from nowhere, now you know why. It was not random. It was not empty. It was the pressure of a heart that can no longer fully hide from what it lost, reaching across distance and landing where it always knew it would be felt. What makes this even more intense is that the shift likely did not end yesterday. That was the peak, but the aftershock is still moving. Today they may still be distracted, still checking their phone at odd moments, still drifting out of conversations, still struggling to stay present because some part of them keeps slipping back toward you. Small things keep opening the memory again. A certain hour, a certain place, a familiar phrase, a quiet moment in the car, a room that suddenly feels too silent, and each time it happens, the truth presses in harder. They may be trying to act fine in front of others, but inside there is a repeated question they cannot fully silence. What if they let something real slip too far away? That question is heavy because it comes with another one close behind it. What if it is too late to fix it now? This is where fear and longing create the strongest storm. They want relief, but the only real relief would require honesty. They want peace, but peace would ask them to admit what they still feel. They want to stop thinking about you, but the effort to stop is what keeps bringing you back. If you have felt their energy strongly, do not be surprised if more signs come. A sudden pull to your phone, a dream, a feeling at night that arrives without context, a moment when their name enters your mind too clearly to ignore. Stay calm when it happens. Not every sign means action is needed. Sometimes it only means the bond is moving, and the other person is finally feeling the weight they delayed for too long. If they do reach out, it will likely come after a private battle, not before it. People in this kind of inner state rarely move in a smooth, confident way. First comes resistance, then silence, then the emotional build, then the crash, then hesitation, then maybe a small step, a message typed and deleted, a profile visit, a test, a quiet signal, something indirect before anything direct. Because the same person who longs for closeness is also the one afraid of rejection, afraid of looking weak, afraid of discovering that the door they left is no longer open the same way. So if movement comes, it may come awkwardly, late, unsure, half-covered. Do not let that confuse you. A person who feels deeply after a long period of suppression often struggles to move cleanly. Their heart is ahead of their courage, their emotions are ahead of their words, their soul is louder than their pride, but pride still fights for control. This is why patience matters. Not passive waiting, but calm understanding. Let their actions reveal who they are now. Let reality show you whether regret becomes courage or remains only inner noise. And while that unfolds, keep your own energy clear. Keep choosing your peace, your routine, your growth, your center, because the strongest position you can hold in a moment like this is not obsession. It is steadiness, not panic, not fantasy, steadiness. If they are feeling the loss of you in a deep way, your calm will reach them more strongly than your chasing ever could. So take a breath and remember this. What you felt was real. The shift was real. The heaviness had a source. Someone tied to you is struggling more than they have let the world see, and yesterday something in them gave way. That does not mean you owe them immediate rescue. It does not mean you must rush back into old patterns. It simply means your intuition was picking up truth. And that truth has power because it returns you to yourself. You are no longer left only with confusion. You are no longer forced to question every feeling that passed through you. You can trust what your inner sense was trying to say. There is still movement in this story. There is still emotion on the other side. There is still an unfinished current between you. But now the most important thing is how you hold yourself inside that knowledge. Do not let their storm become your identity. Do not let their delayed realization pull you out of your balance. Let the connection be what it is. Let the truth rise where it needs to rise. And if this message found you at exactly the right moment, then maybe that is your sign to stop doubting what you felt and start honoring the quiet wisdom that warned you before your mind had words. Keep watching. Stay open, but stay grounded. The silence around you may not be empty at all. It may be carrying more than you think. And if this hit your heart in a way you cannot explain, that is because some truths are felt first and understood later.